This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Welcome back, dear listeners, to the Dreamcast Junkyard DreamPod. This episode is certain to be a doozy, as we will be focusing on the best fucking game in the world, period. That's right, my friends, tonight we are talking Phantasy Star Online. And given that today's date marks the game's 23-year, 5-month and 22-day anniversary, it was absolutely imperative that we recorded this episode straight away. Of course, some may say that patiently waiting for the 25-year anniversary would be much more gracious. Unfortunately though, some troublemaker got the Junkyard team all hyped up on PSO recently, and so being the impetulant bunch that we are, we simply could not wait. Okay, I think that's quite enough hot air from me. Let's crack on with introducing the motley crew who are featuring on this episode. First up, sweet and sour like a tangerine, we have Mark. How's it going, Mark?
Really good, mate. How are you?
Yes, mate. Not too bad. I'm recording this from my parents' house because I've got a new neighbour with a very loud husky. But aside from that, I'm all good. We're very happy to have you back on the podcast, Mark. I know you normally keeping busy with Maz Mondays.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you know what? It's good to be back. I think I tend to come on these like themed ones now. You know, I was a regular for a while, but now it's like if something really catches my interest, and PSO was always going to catch my interest. You know, like suddenly I'm back in the driving seat. So yeah, bring it on.
Sweet, very good. Second to the plate and fresh like a box of Krispy Kremes. It's Brian. How are you finding things on this side of the Atlantic now, Brian?
Oh, great. Just been kind of branching out a little bit. Spent the last few weekends just hopping around, exploring the sites. Went to Lincoln, have been to London a couple of times, trying to explore some of the areas surrounding Nottingham as well. So eventually I'll make it to every corner of the UK is my goal.
It won't take long.
Yeah, but there are a lot of corners, so.
It is. Yeah, there's a lot of corners, and there's also a lot of rail strikes and slow buses, so it can take a little while.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, good to have you on again, Brian, as always. And lastly, and too cool for a Beastie Boys lyric introduction, I'm afraid, it is Harvey, aka Pizza Hotline. Welcome back again, mate. How's things?
Hello. Before I tell you how things are, can I ask you, is that story about the husky true?
It is 100% true.
Sounds like the beginning of a joke, like a run-up to a joke.
Oh, I wish it was a joke. Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us a bit about that later. But no, I'm doing good. Excited about a bit of PSO. I haven't played it in a while. I tried to play it earlier, but I hit a massive online hurdle. Not a good start, but I've got my copy here. Maybe I'll have a read through the manual and it'll inspire me to come up with some interesting stuff as we chat.
Yes, mate. I'd love to hear it. That enthusiasm, that's homework there.
Do you know what? I never thought I'd say this, but I miss manuals.
Yeah.
I've literally just had that realization. I actually miss manuals. What the hell? Like modern gaming, you've broken me.
There is this person. I met him at London Gaming Market, and he makes mini tiny manuals for Switch games.
Like, and I tell you something, what a guy! Like that guy should be some. Yeah, you know what I mean. That guy should be held in high esteem by everyone. Because
Absolutely.
He is living the retro dream.
You can find them on Etsy, I think.
Nice.
Tiny ones. That's fun.
That guy needs to be protected at all costs from Nintendo's big legal team.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
There is a slightly different form of that guy who now it's people on eBay who just sell the manuals. So like they buy a game to break it up into 3 separate pieces, and those people deserve everything that's coming to them.
No way. What?
Yeah. So I bought Shining Force 2 on the Mega Drive. And it didn't come with the manual, and then I saw that the same seller was selling just the manual. So I messaged him, was like, "Oh, is this like?" And the guy was like, "Yeah. Basically, this is my entire shop. I buy things. I sell the cartridge as one. I sell the case as another, and the manual as another." Like that guy is just the worst human being.
Yeah, because he can get a little bit more money by. Oh, it's so bad that.
Well, a lot more apparently. Yeah, a lot more.
Oh, really? Wow, God.
Well, there is one option, which is not to pay for it. Just don't buy it. But yeah, I suppose it's tricky. Yeah. Don't go looking at my eBay store.
So it turns out that I've actually just named and shamed you there, Lawrence.
Lozz's manuals are us.
It was actually Lawrence.
I thought I'd gotten away with that. Okay, let's keep the show on the road and move on to the obligatory icebreaker question. Given that PSO is such a massive topic, I am going to have the icebreaker on topic rather than doing some kind of quirky question, which we sometimes do. So here it is. Get your thinking caps on for this one. In a parallel universe, one monster enemy from PSO has been singled out for a criminal trial. And you are going to have the chance to witness them get the sweet, sweet justice that they deserve. Which enemy do you choose? Now, if you don't know the monster's proper title, don't worry. Don't shame you for that. Just give me a description. Personally, I'd go for a Rappy because those little penguin bastards really have gotten away with far too much as far as I'm concerned. So I would have a Rappy in the dock, getting sentenced to hard labour, maybe. Something like that.
This is such a good question.
So first of all, great question. But yeah, I'm going to come in hard for the Hildebears. There's nothing more. They just kill me. They just slap me about very easily. So I'm still, I'm not over that at all. So yeah, piss off, Hildebears.
Yeah, the ones that drop from the sky in that Prospective Horizons quest, especially.
Yeah, but it's the kind of they're walking towards you, and then with no notice, they suddenly just leap 40 feet and just slap you. And it's like, okay, that's me dead. Cheers.
I think that's a good choice. Brian, Harvey?
I'm trying to find the one I hate the most, and I can't find it. And I've actually just cracked open ChatGPT, and I'm saying to it, what's the one that looks like this? And it doesn't know. It can't work it out. Or maybe, is it the Hildebear? Quickly, let me just quick look up. Basically, the one I hate, but I kind of love it too. Uh-huh. No, it's not the Hildebear. I don't know what this one's called, but it's in the caves and it splits in half.
Yeah.
The reason I hate it is because you can't take any health off until it splits in half.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to use magic attacks while it's connected. At least that's work. At least Zonda does work for me. But yeah, it's a pain because it's very hard to do damage otherwise.
I found it. It's called Pan Arms.
That's it.
Apparently. Pan Arms, yeah. And I agree, they are annoying.
It's a cursed looking thing, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a few of those moments here where there may be some people who have encyclopedic knowledge are going to be questioning our right to do a PSO episode, but screw it.
Absolutely. Those people will exist no matter what we talk about. Don't worry about that.
Brian, how about you, mate? Have you got any monsters that you'd like to put in the dock?
Um, kind of. Although it's from episode 4, just because that's the one I was playing a little bit today. Via Blue Burst. And I gotta say the kind of for similar reasons as the what were they called, pan arms, or they were just a simple enemy in the first levels. The satellite lizards, I think they're called, or something lizards. You can't attack that. You can't. So I'm a ranger, and they do not take ranged gun damage. So, and then if you shoot them with your gun, they just disappear, or they like become invisible, and then you can't do anything at all. So, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass when you're swarmed by them and you don't have powerful enough magic to do a, multi-hit thing yet. So, yeah, I'd say the lizard people.
Damn. Were you playing what Blue Burst? Were you playing that on PC?
Yeah, I just downloaded it yesterday just because I was kind of curious. I was like, you know what? It had been years since I played Blue Burst, and I think I'm on the, what is it, Fenia server? Mm-hmm. I know there's a couple. There's Ultima. That was the popular one for a while. But yeah, so they have episodes 1, 2, and 4 on it. 3 being still exclusive to the GameCube because it was the card game, which is also kind of fun. But yeah, so the lizard people.
So if you're anything like me, Brian, you're now going to lose a month to that. Because as soon as I downloaded it to my PC, I lost like quite literally a full month to it up until about last week. Well, that's literally all I did. So yeah, it's very addictive.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Mark, we should connect if you want to play.
Absolutely, yeah, it needs to happen.
I'm still very low level, but yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's how any good online RPG should be, right? It just completely takes over your life. Okay, right then. I think that's a good lineup of monsters that we are going to have sent down. Listeners, if you want to let us know which monster you would choose, then by all means do drop us a line. With the ice broken now, then I think we can move on to the main section of the pod. So I've got a whole load of cues written down here, scribbled in front of me, that I'm going to throw out, and hopefully my fellow guests will be willing to opine on them. The first 2 that I have here are, what were the first and last occasions you played Phantasy Star Online? And what are your fondest memories with the game between those 2 moments in time?
So I've said on previous pods, so I was very, very poor growing up, but I did have a cousin that was like 10 doors down on my street, who was like in his mid-20s, massively into all consoles and computers, had every single console day one, and had every single game day one. Like the guy just like lived the gaming geek dream. So I was very much just like a hanger-on for him. So like literally launch day for the Dreamcast, I was around his house the entire day. We just played his games all day. Launch day for any big game, I was just around his house the entire time. That's literally all we did. And I remember specifically PSO and the launch day, he played it until about 1:30 in the morning when he fell asleep, and that's when I finally got to play some PSO. I literally had to wait for him to fall to sleep in order for me to be able to kind of log on and create a character and like very, very quietly so I remember I was using the keyboard, but very, very quietly speaking to people online with the keyboard. So I was like, if he wakes up, he's going to kick me off and play the game. I literally managed to play it technically the day after, because it was after midnight, definitely. I played it from like 1 a.m, and I'm not joking, until about 6, when he finally woke up and was like, "Oh, you're still here?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Does your mum know?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Oh, okay, well, you should probably tell her." Why? What the hell are you doing? And then so that was my first experience, but I was hooked. I so wanted it at the time, but it was just so out of reach for my kind of potential to buy it myself. At that age, I was very, very young. But yeah, I used to basically do that exact format format a lot for the next few months. I would go around, I'd watch him play it, he'd go to sleep and go to bed. I'd sit there until 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning playing his game, and absolutely addicted to it, but couldn't really level up very well because it was always like, post midnight, having to sneak little goals and that kind of thing. And that's still one of my favourite memories actually from that area. That was such a cool time. And the last time I played it was like 2 days ago. So yeah, still back on, just like Brian, back on the online stuff, although doing it on PC nowadays. And it's still as good as ever.
Oh, nice.
Do you play regularly these days?
Regular-ish, yeah. So there's like 4 of us. There's like 4 friends who I've managed to get all 4 of us. We all played around the same time. I'm talking about when I was like 13, 14, and I've managed to get all 4 back playing on Athenia on PC. So yeah, we're now having like PSO nights every week or 2, which is the first time we've all gamed together in about 10 years, which is really nice.
That is awesome. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, really good. Exactly.
I think it's going to be hard to beat your first time.
Yeah.
Being basically practically day one. I mean, what were the servers like at that point? Were they just absolutely rammed?
Yeah, but massively. And I remember actually there was because my character's name was Thor, and I remember that because I was going around with this guy who was like talking with like come along Thor, and I was like, okay, yeah, cool. So I've got a really vivid memory of that actually. I've got that first night I was like blown away because that was my first ever online gaming experience really. Like my first like proper RPG. Oh my god, there's other characters running around, and they're around me, and I'm communicating, and holy shit, we can all go and do this together. That was like a properly mind blowing experience for a kid who still had at that point a Mega Drive, and I was relatively new to the PS1. So like to go from that to that is like a pretty big jump for a kid of that age. So yeah, I was mind blown.
Mark, I'm kind of curious what weapon Thor might have in the Phantasy Star games, because they don't really have hammers, do they?
No, well, they don't. No, they don't. So I'll be honest, it was actually, I really wanted to name it Thoric. So I was playing a lot of Warhammer at the time, and there was a character called Thoric, but Thoric was taken, so I just knocked some letters off. But I'm always a ranger. Yeah, I'm always a ranger. So actually, Thor makes no sense, really.
The hammers are bullets.
Always bullets.
Okay, so who wants to try and top that from Mark?
Yeah. Well, I'll go next, but I definitely can't top that. That's such a really good, cozy video game memory, isn't it? I guess I'm a bit different because I started playing it at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was actually initially enticed by just the fact that I was trying to get this old console online. That was my that was the biggest motivation. I was obviously interested in the game, but I was more interested in the challenge, the technical challenge of trying to do it. And I tried for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to try and get it working, just on and off, just tinkering around with it. Just didn't have any luck. And it was a mixture of my internet service provider and a mixture of like physical things, like getting the right voltage line inducer for the Dreamcast and the stuff like that. But this is the kind of stuff I really, really like. And I remember I have this memory of going into the hardware store just over the road from me and trying to explain to the guy what I needed. And I needed these really like out-of-date phone cable connectors. And there was this one that was I think it was a phone line thing. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it was just an adapter. And I was trying to explain it to him, and he was interested because he was like, why is this person in my shop, like in this day and age, like dying, like really, really cute, because I'm an enthusiastic person. And I was like really, really like excited. I was like, oh, please tell me you've got one. And he got really interested in it. Basically, we were going around the shop and digging through these old boxes of stock that he didn't have on the shelves because no one was buying it. And I managed to find the adapter, and I ran home and I fired it up, and it worked. And my housemate was there. And she doesn't know anything about games, and she definitely doesn't know anything about retro games, and she definitely doesn't know anything about old, obscure consoles. Well, not that obscure, but old consoles that go online. And she had no idea what I was doing, but she found it really fascinating. But I remember the first time I typed and spoke to someone, and they spoke back to me. It was incredible. I just couldn't believe it because it was so difficult for me to actually get online. And that I remember that really, really well. And then I basically played it for a year or two straight after that, and just had such a great time meeting so many brilliant people and lots of late nights.
Amazing.
And the last time I played it was, today, but I couldn't get online. I always have this trouble because I have a disc-based Dreamcast and a GDEMU one, and trying to switch characters between them can be difficult sometimes because of the different versions and the different. Oh, I don't know if you've got a PAL save and you try and use it on an NTSC ROM. Oh, I can never remember, and it's always a massive hurdle for me because I don't play that regularly. But yeah, it was really frustrating today. So I can't really remember the last time I played it, but yeah, today I couldn't get online, so I didn't technically play it.
Never mind. I think it's the thought that counts there. Yeah, I think I have really good memories of playing during the pandemic as well, actually. And I think it's kind of odd because if it wasn't for being forced to stay indoors over that period, I probably never would have reconnected with playing PSO or playing the Dreamcast Online. So it's kind of one little silver lining amongst all of the shitstorm that was COVID. And I think there was a bit of an upsurge at the time. I remember speaking to quite a few people who were like, had been encouraged to get their Dreamcast back out of the attic or from a dark cupboard and hook it up online. So yeah, I had a really good time then playing it. And I have continued to play since, probably a bit less now that I am allowed to go outside. But yeah, it's still something that I try to play every couple of weeks. Brian, you're very quiet over there.
For once.
When did you first come across PSO and play it?
Yeah, so I have a very different experience here in that I've never actually played the Dreamcast version online, and for a variety of reasons, I suppose. But when it first came out, what was it? It was around Christmas time, I don't know, 2001, I think. I ended up getting it from my aunt, who bought it for me. And I intended to take it online. I was like, oh, cool, this is great. I'll get it set up. And it took me a while to even get around to playing it. And so I felt like, at the very least, I can play it offline if I need to, if I can't figure out the online stuff. There's a whole, so phone company stuff we had to deal with. I had to get my parents' permission to, whatever, because I had never connected it before. So I was like, at the very least, maybe I'll just play it like, an offline Diablo type dungeon crawler. So a month later, they discontinued the Dreamcast, and I kind of dashed my ambitions for setting it up online anyway. So that's pretty much how I always played it, was just Phantasy Star Offline. And I came back to it every now and then, but I, for whatever reason, like when I got my DreamPod, I ended up getting other games working online, but never PSO. So I have always only played it offline. Although now that I'm back to Blue Burst, I think I'll probably play it more, but still, I just don't think, I just don't think I've ever gotten it set up on the Dreamcast online. So
interesting.
So I don't know if that's a memory. I feel like it's a great, I guess I've always just kind of enjoyed it as a tune out podcast game, since it is kind of mindless when you're playing solo. But it's pretty relaxing in that, in that respect. So maybe we'll get into that later.
So I'm kind of similar, other than that, like initial 6-month burst. I only ever played it offline until like 2 months ago. So I'm exactly with you, Brian. Like, it is the most chilled game in the world to play online, and just like the music's really calm, and it's really easy. It's just like burr, burr, burr. Like that's like that is the entirety of the buttons you're going to press. Burr, burr, burr. Done. You can walk around, really relax. Nothing's going to jump out on you. Nothing's going to scare you. You don't have to think about anything. I really like it. Yeah. Justice for Phantasy Star Offline.
There's gonna be some folks listening to this who find that to be heathen opinion, but I think it's fair enough. It's totally valid. I certainly have had some good times playing it offline when my connection's been playing up, so I can appreciate that too.
I will blame my technical ineptitude as well.
Yeah, right. And I mean, we're all especially in the current day, because there is plenty that can go wrong. We like to make out that it's really. I mean, it is relatively easy, but there's still a hell of a lot that can go wrong with trying to connect to Dreamcast in the modern age. So, and then as you said, Brian, back in the day as well, it would have been a case of cost and permission, and I mean, trying to explain to parents that you need to, have an additional phone charge because you want to play this game. It's pretty tall order.
Yeah, it was kind of a hard sell, so I don't think I won that battle.
I have a handful of other cues lined up here, and I think I'm just going to carry on putting them out there in twos, kind of dialectical cues here. So the next ones I've got are what makes PSO appealing despite its age, and what aspect of PSO do you actually really dislike, or that is prone to making you have a fit of rage. I can throw something out there for this if it helps to kind of get things rolling. As far as what makes me rage in PSO, there's a handful of moments. I think the worst, though, is when you are facing Dark Fowls at the very end of the game, at the end of Ruins, and he does that attack where he steals your soul.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The other three players you're playing with have either not noticed that or they just don't care, and they carry on firing into Dark Fowls, and they actually just go ahead and kill you. I've had that happen to me far too many times. It makes me, on occasion, it makes me rage if I'm in a bad mood. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has come across that.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it's just a nightmare, isn't it?
I don't think I've gotten there once. I would just play Forest over and over and over and over. Because I'm not sure if maybe you guys who haven't played much online don't know this, but if you haven't completed all of the levels offline, then you can't play them online unless you're with someone who has. So if
really?
I was
Is that
starting,
right?
Yeah, because I never played it offline ever, so I could only play Forest. Because that's if I'd made if I'd created a game, so I'd always kind of wait until someone else would do it. You have to play play a level all the way through, beat the boss, and then go talk to the is he called the president?
The principal.
Yeah.
Principal, that's him. Yeah, principal.
Principal Tyrell.
You have to go talk to him and then save your game. And I didn't know that for so long. And yeah. So and that's why I've played Forest over and over and over. But it didn't seem to bother me just because kind of what you guys were saying earlier about it just being a bit of a, it's just a pleasant thing to be in. This world is such a pleasant world. And, I would get to play the other levels if someone else who'd unlocked them had started the game. But yeah, it's quite funny, that, isn't it? So I hadn't actually got to the end of Ruins much, Lozz.
I actually had a friend back in the day who was in exactly the same position, and I remember him coming back to me. He was really enjoying the game, and then after a few days, he was like, "Oh, it's a bit short, and it's a bit short," and I said, "Yeah, it is a bit short. It's only 4 dungeons," and then it turned out he'd just been playing Forest over and over. So yeah, I think there's a few people that have done that before. So that's something that I said that I really hate about the game. What is there about it that makes us actually want to still play it after 23 years?
My favourite thing about this game, what makes it really, really appealing to me, apart from just the gameplay loop being, just quite engaging, or just moderately engaging and not too much, is it's a bit like the reason I love Wipeout. It's the menus. They feel like the game. The music sounds like the way the game looks. The characters, like the world is. There's so much synergy. And it's like everything you interact with really has had so much stylistic thought put into it. And I think like games from that era, there's not a lot of them that are like that. Maybe the menu looks a bit off, or like the pause menu doesn't look quite right. But this game really does feel like you're in this world, even when you play it today. You know, like I love like the user interface sounds and the just all of the menus and the outfits that the people wear. It's such a well realized world that I just have no problem being in it for as long as I can. You know, it's so fantastic. That's my favorite thing about it, I think.
Yeah, agreed on all points. Absolutely.
Totally. And I think it helps that they didn't constrain themselves to the vision for the series as laid out by the JRPGs. Because they really did kind of do their own thing with PSO. I mean, technically, of course, it had been a long time since 4 going into PSO, where there were a lot of strides in the technological aspects, or at least the gaming generations at that point, that who knows what a continuation of the JRPG series would have been like. But yeah, I really think Sonic Team, as you were saying, just really leaned into having everything as in service of that cohesion, or that like kind of a, honestly, like sort of a chill slash sort of spooky, mysterious vibe they were going for as a sci-fi piece. Yeah. And there was a lot less dialogue, of course, than the JRPG series. It wasn't character focused or character driven in the same way as like 4, for example. So, I think they really leaned into the world building to sell that to the player, and that they did a spectacular job. I absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, there's few games that do it like this well, thinking about it, that have built a world that's so pure and just real feeling.
Yeah, and honestly, you kind of appreciate it even more. I've also been playing, I put about 150 hours into PSO 2 New Genesis lately. That's the more recent iteration of the series, and I enjoy a lot that. But you can kind of see in stark contrast where the narrative pieces, which are, there is a lot of voice acting, and it's all, the dialogue is all kind of terrible, and everything's kind of mishmashed. The music doesn't quite have that same aura. I mean, there is some good music in it, but it's like kind of parsed out across a variety of styles that some fit more than others. And they have, tie-ins with anime IPs and all this other stuff. They just kind of mishmashed over the years. Now, I appreciate that chaos in its own right, separately, but I think it does draw a distinction with how tightly designed the original PSO was around a singular vision. That, I think you're absolutely right.
So is the second one like? I mean, I've played 0 hours of the second one, but looking at it, it just looks like a completely different game with the same with a similar name. Is that how you feel, or are they faithful to PSO at all? Like the PSO, the first one on Dreamcast.
No, they're not faithful whatsoever, except for, well, here's what I would say. I would say the core, now the thing that, Mark, you were saying earlier, that I think you hit the nail on the head with, was the original PSO was just so chill and had that draw. And I honestly think PSO 2, well, New Genesis is the one I've been playing a lot. PSO 2 is actually a whole separate game, that I didn't play as much, but, at least New Genesis also kind of taps into that in a very different way. So it is kind of a good, like, just chill game to play. I think some of the bosses have a little more strategy, and you have a lot more, like, I don't know. There's also it's more agile. There's more chaos happening. They have just moments of pure. Those load the screen with enemies, and you're jumping around. I mean, yeah, there's a jump button, so you're jumping, you're hovering, you're doing all of these. You're climbing. It's kind of an open world, so it's very different game. But at the end of the day, you can also just wallop enemies willy nilly, and with whatever build you decide to go with. If you just, enjoy a particular class or weapon set, you can go for it and cause a lot of destruction. And so it's like through that chaos, it also kind of becomes kind of calming and numbing to an extent. So they both get there, but through very different approaches.
That was a superb deployment of Wallop, by the way, Brian. You can get British citizenship tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned. It's interesting because what we're kind of saying then is part of what makes PSO still appealing to play all these years later. It's almost what it's missing rather than what it's got in some respects. Because you're saying that it's it's this chill gameplay loop. It's not all singing and dancing or kind of over the top. It's not got voice acting, so it doesn't run the risk of that becoming outdated and cheesy. It's a strange thing to say that it's because in many respects it was very revolutionary on the Dreamcast and kind of packed with all these different features like the online communication system, the guild cards, the messaging, and the like. But I suppose as far as the gameplay itself is concerned, it's very simple.
Oh yeah, I would totally agree with that, and I think that speaks volumes for the adage of what addition by subtraction.
See, there's
yeah, definitely.
Everything comes together as a whole and works together very well, but you can take certain parts of it and look at them individually as well and say that they stand up on their own right. Like the soundtrack is phenomenal for PSO.
It is. And actually I learned something recently. There's a modern artist called Dusk, spelt, it's got a funny spelling, D-U-S-Q-K, Dusk? Yes, D-U-S-Q-K. And I've spoken to him quite a bit. He makes music that's specifically inspired by the PSO universe.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool music. Yeah. And he's actually not just creating music. I spoke to him about it before, but he's creating a whole world and story that's like animation and music, and the albums all have concepts, and it's really, really cool. It's D-U-S-Q-K. And maybe we should put a link in the show notes, but his music's fantastic. And he told me, I said to him, because I make music too, I said, how do you make your music sound so PSO-y? Because he does such a fantastic job. And he said that there's one synthesizer that the composer used. I can't remember who the composer was. I'll have to look it up. But there's one synthesizer, and basically, if you use that synthesizer, your music will just sound like PSO music. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to find it out. But that was quite an interesting bit of trivia.
It's very nice. Yeah, we'll have to put a link to that in the show notes for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
So the last couple of cues I have here are, and this one is kind of a little bit selfish because I may just steal your answers from this for a future Junkyard piece, but what question if you could ask the team that developed or published PSO, what question would you like to ask them? And also, if you could get your hands on any single piece of PSO merchandise or memorabilia, real or imaginary, what would it be? I mean, there's so much Dreamcast merchandise that I lust after. I'm pretty good actually at resisting the urge to buy things. But the one thing I've always wanted that is real, but I still don't have yet, is the 4X PSO memory card.
Nice.
Yeah, which always looks so lush on the photos online, but I don't know how it'd be in person because I've never had one of the memory cards that doesn't have a screen.
Isn't that like the only bit of merch? Is there any more merch?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Aside from I think as far as the Dreamcast goes, I think the only other bits of merch were like promotional pieces. So, like in Japan. In the run-up, I think if you pre-ordered the game, they were giving away dog tags which had the section IDs on them. So like Green Hill, Red Rear, and stuff like that. And obviously there's things like the guidebooks and stuff like that. But yeah, there was actually relatively little merch, surprisingly.
Interesting. I mean, I just love a custom Dreamcast. Quite honestly, I'd love a custom PSO Dreamcast. So, I've been threatening to get a Dreamcast customized for a long time, and I think that would absolutely be mine. I'd love to be able to play it on like an original. I've still got my original copy, and I'd love to play it on like a souped up PSO, fully online Dreamcast and do it right. Finally,
that'd be lush. Would it be one of these like airbrushed cases, Mark?
You know what? I'd love it to be. Yeah, I'd love it to be all that, and I'd love it. If you press the kind of open the lid button, it kind of does the do do do. Like the kind of PSO sound. Imagine that. That'd be incredible.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I think it would be. You'd have to find the right artist for that because you could. It could be like where you go and get a shit tattoo on holiday, and it turns out really bad.
One thing that I've always loved is merch or like promotional merch from like original promotional merch. Like on eBay once, I found an original Blue Stinger T-shirt from back in the day, not a repro. And I've always been really interested in that because those kinds of things are super rare. So if there was an original Phantasy Star Online kind of T-shirt or hoodie, like a promo one, then I'd love one of those. But I bet you they're like rocking horse droppings to try and find.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Brian?
I just want a mag. I mean, T-shirts are cool, consoles are cool, but like, give me a whole mag.
A real life one.
Follow me around that I have to feed sometimes. That can
Would you take it to Greg's?
Do devastating attacks on enemies when I take enough damage. Also in PSO2 it plays music, so there you go. It's your little personal boombox.
There's a mag in PSO, I don't know how you get it, where it's a tiny Dreamcast that follows you around.
Oh, that's cool.
How do you get those kinds of mags? Do you just feed them in a certain way?
Yeah, it's a very convoluted process, and 99% of the time that you see one of those online, they will be illegitimate. Boo. Cheaters.
Do you know the legitimate way of getting that?
So there are legitimate ways. You need to find some very rare items that you basically kind of feed to your mag, and it sends it through. I believe you have to go through the whole process of going, what is it, SG 1000, Master System, Mega Drive, Saturn, Dreamcast.
That's it. That's so cool.
That's so cool.
It's cool. It's probably less cool when you realise how many hours you need to put into finding these little pieces. But,
yeah, you're right.
But yeah,
let's not pretend like any of us have got anything better to do, mate. Come on.
Yeah, true.
Man's got a point.
Indeed. Yeah, especially once I've spent all my the last of my cash on getting a real life mag set up.
Exactly.
I mean, it could. That is something that maybe, Brian, maybe in the near future, someone could do that, because I'm thinking we've got these little, drones now that are pretty advanced.
Oh yeah.
And you could kind of shove one of those in a case of some sort, and
In the Dreamcast case?
Yeah, it might be feasible. We'll have to get someone on it. See, normally we always say, well, Ian Michael will do that, but that's not something he can do, I don't think. Or Derek.
Jeff Bezos will do that.
Jeff Bezos.
They can fly around and they can, make us buy more crap.
Yeah, I think I'll come to regret that wish if it turns out that mags are just, everywhere delivering packages and advertising. I'll be like, oh, well, this is a horrible idea.
Yeah. So, Brian, after your time living in the UK, what UK food would you feed your mag?
Would I feed my mag? Is it blasphemous to just give them all the Greggs stuff? Because I do not like Greggs, so I would just give them all of the sausage rolls. And they're cheap. So.
Get him off.
Sorry.
Cut that.
I mean, there's a lot of good food here. I just feel like having Greggs represented is kind of doing it a disservice. But sorry.
Greggs is a strange cult.
Fair enough.
Strange cult with the centre of not very good quality food.
Yeah, we just kind of play. I think we just play that up to Americans. I mean, we do. A lot of people do like Greggs, but it's not
I mean, sometimes if you're out early and you have to catch a bus and you have 5 minutes to grab something to eat, it definitely serves that purpose.
I think the reason people love Greggs is because it's always there, everywhere.
So, yeah,
it's
easy.
Fair.
Cool.
Would that be Harvey? Would that be what you'd ask Sonic Team then as well? You'd ask them, what Greggs item do you feed to your mag?
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe, but the one I was thinking of is kind of, I see this game as a pursuit that's so trailblazing. In the context of a games console, a home games console, you've got things like like loads of users all chatting in different languages and connecting with these different internet service providers and doing. This is a serious thing, the Sonic Team did. I would just love to ask them, what was the hardest thing to get right?
Yeah.
What was the hardest thing? That's what I'd love to know. And maybe I'd want, what do you guys think would be the hardest thing?
I mean, I'm not technically minded enough to say what the hardest thing would be, but I totally understand where you're coming from with that question, because when you put it alongside the other Dreamcast games, especially the ones that went online,
like Toy Racer,
those are janky as hell online. Yeah. PSO is just clean,
and low resolution as an experience, where PSO is incredibly high resolution. There's so many moving parts, and for the most part, it works pretty well online. And I'd love to know what was the biggest head scratcher for them. And obviously, with all game development, there's things that you just couldn't fit in. And I'd love to know what was the thing that they were really trying to fit in that they couldn't. And I guarantee you it's voice chat. I bet you they had so much trouble with that. Because I've used voice chat on the Dreamcast on Planet Ring, and it sounded brilliant. But Planet Ring's a really, really simple game. And, PSO's not, comparatively. So, I bet you it was voice chat.
Yeah, I suspect that's the case. And it may be buried in an interview somewhere. But they were, because obviously they developed it for Planet Ring and Alien Front Online, and I think Propeller Arena was supposed to have it. But they probably would have put it on PSO version 2 if they didn't have to rush it so much. Because my understanding is that version 2 on the Dreamcast basically was a rushed affair, because they very quickly realised that the Dreamcast had been knocked on the head as a commercial product. So yeah, I think voice chat would have likely been something that came along.
So were they trying to squeeze more into it to try and boost the appeal of the system?
I think it was probably the case that they wanted to do a more fully fledged sequel, but then it turned out that they didn't have the time because of the end of the Dreamcast, basically.
Yeah. So what would you guys ask Sonic Team?
Aside from the Greg's question, I think I'd ask. I think really selfishly, I'd just like to ask them what do they think of the fact that there are still folks who are playing the game like nearly 25 years on.
I was going to say that. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good question.
Absolutely.
Do they care? I mean, they might not care.
I bet you some of the developers who maybe don't work there anymore and have, kind of curiosity's got the better of them and they've gone online. I bet you that's happened. Just like nowadays.
Yeah, I've got a few friends that are like work heavily, like quite high up now actually in gaming, and they really do fall in one of two camps. It's the ones who it's just a job; they really don't care. I really don't mean that as a really bad thing either. It's just like it's just become a job to them. But then there are the other ones who like live and breathe this shit, and those guys would absolutely care and be flabbergasted that someone still cares enough to be picking up this game, 20 plus years later. And I love that. And even, I've got friends who do YouTube who've like interview people from like Ocean Software, obviously very, very different company, but Ocean Software, who cannot believe that anyone cares enough to even want to interview them 20 years later about a game, let alone play it online with friends and still, kind of do parties and, get all get friends around and do online chats and stuff. Right. It's incredible, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I think the only thing I would add is maybe some sort of question pertaining to how when they were originally doing because they kind of used Choo Choo Rocket as a test for viability with SegaNet or whatever it's called across the world, Dreamcast, or what was it in Europe?
Dream Arena.
Dream Arena, yeah. So they, I think that was like the first online playable multiplayer game, and I feel like I'd be curious what kind of lessons learned that they took from that as they were developing Phantasy Star Online, as far as how that influenced their focus to keep it, relatively narrow in scope, right? Because when you have teams of 4 people and you're, focusing on a dungeon crawling experience, it's a little bit different, I think, than what some of the broader MMOs were doing at the time with EverQuest and that kind of thing, where they were a lot larger in scale. And I'm curious how much of that was just informed by the limitations or the ecosystem, for lack of a better word, that they expected the Dreamcast to have, that was a better fit for that type of experience relative to something that was more chaotic, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Brian, because I think a lot of the time, casually PSO can be thrown in with MMORPGs, and it was definitely pioneering in terms of just online RPGs for consoles, but it's certainly not, a World of Warcraft or a Final Fantasy Online in terms of being massively multiplayer. It's very much focused on the kind of more narrow multiplayer experience.
It was an MO, not an MMO.
I think it also, the thing I love about this game is because of that, which was a limitation, that makes and probably made back in the day. I don't know, I didn't play it then, but the community now is just so friendly, and everyone, I remember as soon as I jumped online, there was just people so excited that there was a new player, and they're just like taking me, and helping me level up immediately and spending hours and hours and hours with me. Never met me before, and I guess because it's this element of camaraderie within it, it makes the community so positive. And in the PSO Discord servers, everyone's just really, really positive and nice, and there's no competitiveness or anything like that. And that's one of my favorite things about it, the community.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I think there probably was. There were definitely some more toxic aspects to it probably back in the day, just because there was a lot more people playing, a bit more kind of anonymity. You'd have people who were kind of trolling or griefing or hacking, but once you actually get into playing with another 3 people, that kind of goes away to an extent, right? You're not, you can't get lost in the crowd as much. So yeah, I imagine that's kind of part of the way that's in the game's DNA, is that camaraderie and the whole cooperative aspect. I mean, they did try and put in versus mode in version 2. Or is it called battle mode? But I mean, that very much felt like just something they were doing because they could. It's not something that I ever really used very much. Okay, I think we've been gabbing on for quite long enough. In any case, I'm sure we may get another opportunity to talk PSO again in the future. But for now, I think we'll move on to the obligatory DreamPod quiz.
Can we get Lewis to play the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire intro music here?
Don't boo me for this. What I'm calling it is Who Wants to Be a Mesetanaire?
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Wait, did any of you play Who Wants to Beat Up a Millionaire?
I love
so
that game.
Curious. Yeah. I've never played it, and like, what is going on there? Tell me.
It's odd that it was a US exclusive as well, right?
It was, yeah. So I had like a dodgy chipped version off the local market for £1.
Yeah.
That worked in European Dreamcasts.
Yeah, I didn't think the US, I didn't think kind of, Class Warfare was such a big hit over there, but evidently someone thought it was a good idea.
So is it like it's a quiz? I guess it's a quiz game. Are the questions themed around? What are they themed around? Specific, like satirical. What is this game? Can you summarize it for me?
I can't remember whether it's if you get a question right or whether you get a question wrong. But basically, one of them means that like a millionaire pops up like that you have to just beat the piss out of, and there's like several different millionaires as well. So there's like there's like a Trump looking one, and then there's like an oil magnate one, and then there's like all different types of millionaires. It's really good.
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna check that out. Is it as good as Chef's Love Shack?
It's better than Chef's Love Shack, I've got to say.
High praise there. They'll put that on the back of the case when they re-release it, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quote me on that.
Okay, but onto our quiz, which doesn't involve beating anyone up, at least. Well, not yet. We'll see how we do once we get to the end of it. So it's a relatively brief one this time. I only have 5 questions in front of me, but some of them are quite difficult. And the way that the quiz is going to work is in the spirit of PSO. It's a cooperative quiz, so you're not battling against each other. You are working as a team. And basically, I'm going to go through these questions, and if at the end of it, you can get a majority of them correct. So if you can get 3 out of 5 or more, then you can consider yourself to be, highly successful or something like that. I don't know. I'll send you a certificate. I'll get a nice word art certificate up and send it over to you. Does that sound good to you?
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
do it. Okay, right then. So the first question is, in his pre-release interview with Edge magazine, Yuji Naka said that he hoped PSO would sell 1 million units on the Dreamcast. Did it?
I cannot imagine it did. No.
I doubt it.
See, I'd say yes. But, so are we talking just version 1 here?
We are... Well, we can talk either version 1 or we can talk version 1 and 2 combined.
Let's do combined.
I'm going to go, yeah. I'd say surely after Sonic Adventure, I'd say that this might be the second or third most popular game on the console. So I'm going to stick my neck out and go, yeah.
Do you know how many copies any of those games sold? Because I don't, so I don't have a point of reference to guess from.
Do you know what? Off the top of my head, I don't. I know Sonic Adventure did very, very well, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure is the best-selling game on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
But only a small handful of games even reached like 1 million. I mean, because out of 10 million consoles sold worldwide, or how many was it?
It was 9.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking
10.
about 1/10 of the user base having purchased the games, which I think for Sonic Adventure is easier because it came out at the beginning of the life cycle and they were able to reissue it. Whereas Phantasy Star Online, by the time that came out, I don't know how many people were still buying games for the Dreamcast.
That's why I'm thinking it's below 1 million. But what are we going to go with?
I don't. Do we want to just do like a vote or something? I mean, Mark, your case is compelling, but I think I would say no.
Yeah, because I just think like other than Shenmue, like what conceivably would have sold more than Phantasy Star Online, like in terms of like the kind of hype around the game and the fact that it was.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, NFL
big in
2K
America.
did, Crazy Taxi did, Resident Evil.
Yeah, but NFL
Code
2K
Veronica
would have sold next to nothing in the European market, definitely.
Well, we're talking about worldwide,
thinking,
right? Million.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying like if you add it all together, I think PSO has universal. Again, like this is literally just my opinion, but I think PSO would have done well in all 3 major markets. As would Shenmue. I think NFL would have died in Europe. I don't know.
Mark's making some very convincing arguments there, but I mean, so is
risk it.
Are you gonna? I think you need to call it, lads. You need to decide. Are you gonna go with the majority? I think you've got 2 no's.
Go with the majority.
Go with the majority.
Yeah. Let's go with the majority.
And you are correct. So, I'm kind of disappointed you didn't go to bat harder there, Mark. You could have, done a little bit more.
So what was the number?
So basically, as Brian was saying, there's hardly any games on the Dreamcast that sold 1 million copies. Sonic Adventure being one of them. I do not have totally complete figures here, but for PSO in Japan, it maxed out at 176,000 units. And in the US, it maxed out at 166,000 units.
Wow.
And then as far as Europe goes, the sales figures are not... they were never publicly shared in the same way here. It was always just charts. But I think you can safely assume that Europe didn't sell more than Japan and the US. And even if it did, it'd have had to go a hell of a long way to get it up to 1 million in total. So unfortunately, the answer is no.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard for games to sell 1 million copies back then. I mean, back then, like, Jet Set Radio even sold, 100,000, 200,000? Yeah. And that was considered successful enough. So, yeah.
Hey-ho. But, it's a point in the bank for you. So we'll go on to question 2. Right, so we've previously spoken of the fact that the official PSO servers in Europe and Japan shut down in March 2007. But what year did the official US servers get the chop? So I'm only looking for a year here.
What was the other date? The first date?
So the other date was so the European and Japanese servers, official servers, shut down in March 2007.
I think it's actually 2008.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's either 2008 or 2006. I can't remember. What do you guys think?
I think 8 is probably closer, but I don't know. I have no memory of this. I'm not going to lie. I have no knowledge to give you on this one.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, very difficult. Oh God, I wouldn't have a clue.
I mean, Brian's your resident Yank, but
Like I said, I didn't really play it too much online, so I wasn't following it that closely. I would imagine maybe it's sooner than we would think, but I don't know.
I think because wasn't this the same question we had in the other one that Lozz?
it's no. The question in the other one was about the European and Japanese servers. I'll let you know that it is sooner. It was chopped.
It's 2007 then. Sorry, 2006.
No, unfortunately, that's incorrect. The US servers got the chop on the 1st of October 2003.
Wow.
Wow, really?
Damn.
Yeah, they Sega of America were not fucking around. They were just like, Dreamcast done. We're out of here. Goodbye.
Well, they also at that point had to support the GameCube and Xbox versions, right? So I feel like they were just diverting resources at that point.
The rumors on the various forums I was on in the mid-noughties were that the US servers were such a dumpster fire of cheating and duping of weapons and the like that they pulled the plug. But I'm pretty sure that's a complete lie, and that it probably came down to some commercial business decision.
Yeah.
They were like, it would take more resources to try to moderate this shit, so let's just burn it to the ground.
Yeah, I like to believe that's true. I could just pretend it is. Okay, so that was a very tough question, but let's see. I think you might stand a better chance with the next one. So within PSO, there is music from 4 of the Sega games, hidden away in various parts that you'll encounter. I can tell you that 2 of those games are Dreamcast titles and 2 are Sega Saturn titles. What games are they?
Oh, wow.
Choo Choo Rocket is one of them.
It's gotta be Choo Choo. Sonic Adventure.
Oh, yes, Sonic Adventure. Maybe, on the certain days of the year. I'm not sure if you see this you probably wouldn't see this offline, but they have what are they like? What do you call it? Like events, not events. Like they have like a giant Sonic and a giant Tails in the lobby. Yeah. So I guess we'd go with Sonic Adventure and Choo Choo Rocket because there's a Choo Choo Rocket football pitch down at the very was it the last server or the last room? The other 2 games I have no idea.
I would guess, if it's Saturn and Sonic Team, you're going to probably include Burning Rangers and Nights into Dreams, but...
Good guess.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'd go with those.
Are you sure about that? It might be Croc.
I'm never sure.
Or, I don't know, Tomb Raider or something.
Well, what did they have the license to?
No, you are, you're bang on the money.
So it's four correct answers.
Yes, indeed.
Nice.
Right. Okay, swiftly moving on to question 4. And this one's going to sound harsh initially, but I'm going to give you a big hint towards the end, so just hang on there. Right, so by the time PSO version 2 was released in the UK, Paragon's Dreamcast magazine was the last of its kind standing here in the UK. And of course, they reviewed PSO version 2, and they gave it a score out of 100. Now, what score did they give the game? And I'm going to allow you a margin either way of, let's say, 8 points. So it's a score out of 100.
I've never heard of Paragon Magazine. Is that?
So Paragon's the publisher.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't really, you just need to kind of guess what kind of score out of 100.
Oh, man, I mean, I presume it's high?
Surely.
It's a high score, like in high 80s?
Wait, which magazine was this? Was it a Dreamcast magazine or a multi-platform?
It was a Dreamcast magazine, yeah.
Probably higher.
Unofficial, though.
I know I remember when the EGM came out, and it was like kind of a range of 7 to 9. So,
pick a number between 80 and 90.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I could also see, because I think it was very common for review outlets at the time to hold it against incremental re-releases that didn't offer tangible new content, and so I could see them maybe rating it really low because it wasn't a step up enough from the original with the level cap differences and some of the
the changes were fairly minor.
Yeah, I could imagine they were like, this should have been in the original to begin with, and so they did it for that. But I could also be derailing us with that line of thinking.
I just don't know. I think, grab a number, but maybe now you said that's actually quite interesting, and that could be Lozz's tactic. What do you think, guys? Let's grab a number. What should we go with? 80?
80?
Yeah, I was going to say 18 or 80.
80.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to guess
let's go with
70. But yeah, 80 is good.
80, you've got it by the skin of your teeth. I said I'd allow a margin of 8 points either way, and the answer was 72. So I will give that to you.
Did they say
that's
kind of
harsh.
like did they
they basically they basically said that it's a amazing game, but the differences between it and the first are not that great, and so they're basically saying, why should you spend £40 on this?
Nailed it, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember reading, I don't know why this is relevant, but I was reading it was a hockey game. So Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey for the 64 came out, and then they had the Olympic version of it, which was basically a reskin with different players, but absolutely nothing different. And I remember review outlets were not charitable, to say the least. So I just feel like that was like a very common refrain at the time. Especially if you're marketing it to people who already purchased the first PSO and you're like, hey, if you want to go to level 200 or whatever the new level cap was, buy this one instead.
Yeah.
DLC didn't really exist in the same, well, it did, but not in the same way, I guess.
Yeah, it's understandable, I think. But yeah, anyway, that was only one of many reviews. Right, so we'll crack on with the last question here. And I'm looking at these and they seem harsher and harsher. I think when I wrote these, all I had in the back of my mind was being goaded by James about how easy my questions were before, and so I was in a bit of a rage. But see how you can get on with this one. So very few PSO characters reach the achievement of level 200, and that's probably because it's just bastard hard. It's you need an absolutely ludicrous number of experience points. But what I want to know is, what is that number? And the clue that I'll give you, here's the clue. So I want to know how many experience points you need for level 200. The clue is that the halfway point of level 100 is 2,339,000 experience points. And I'm going to allow a big margin here as well, by the way. I'll allow you a margin of 50% either way.
Wow. Oh boy.
So at 100, so level 100, we had 2 million. How many experience points?
2,339,735 points. It's not a maths question. It's not.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it followed the same parameter.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, it's got to be substantially. I mean, it's gonna. It could be something really ridiculous, like 15 million at that point, couldn't it? Because level 100 to 200 is such a jump. What does everyone think?
I'll defer to you all, but I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Do you know what? Balls on the table. We're going to go for it. 15 million.
15 million.
I like the sound of those balls.
Yeah, this is such a fucking hard question. No, so you're wrong. Get in, the Quizmaster wins one. So the answer is 83,227,800 points.
Bloody hell. It's that
so basically, level 100, some people look at it and they think, oh, well, that's halfway. And it's like, it's nowhere near.
Wow.
So anyway, if you do see someone who's got to level 200 legitimately, they're few and far between, buy them a drink or something like that.
Wow, what a grift.
So
Okay, right then. I think the time has come for us to wrap this bad boy up. Before doing so, I'm going to give all of the guests the chance to sign off or plug their wares or tell us where people can find you, that sort of thing. Brian, you're first up.
I'm not super active on social media, but I guess Twitter and Blue Sky, you can find me under Jet Brian Radio. And I do have a blog site that I haven't really updated in a while, but that's called thevirtuaplanet.com. And that's all I got.
Brilliant. Virtuaplanet.com.
Oh, and we have another podcast. We have a podcast called the Titancast. So
yes, of course, the Saturn Junkyards.
It started to be mostly Saturn stuff, and now we're we just don't record it very often. It's like whenever we've been playing stuff and we all have a moment that aligns, we'll record something, but it's every few months or so. So it's not often.
I've quite enjoyed the Titancast before. Good stuff.
There you go. Comes highly recommended. Definitely check it out.
We will have one coming out this week. So.
Oh, there we go. Well, that will probably be out before this episode even airs. So.
I have it mostly edited. I just have to do the finishing touches.
Oh, very nice. Okay, over to you, Mark. Any last words?
Just find me. So I actually stream on Twitch, usually on Mondays, but also kind of random days during the week as well. I'm actually currently playing a lot of Phantasy Star Online on Twitch at the moment. So find me over there.
Cool.
That is Twitch. My account is MazGamingUK. That's MAZ Gaming UK, and I'm largely on there right now playing PSO. So good link.
Great. I will. I'll definitely watch you play some PSO. That sounds like fun. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
As for me,
Maz Mondays are a lot of fun for the quiz. And I just cut you off there, Harvey. What were you going to say?
That's all right. Just about shamelessly plug my music.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just type I make music under the name Pizza Hotline, Spotify or YouTube or the other places online. But YouTube's one of the biggest platform I guess I'm on, or where lots of stuff is. Just type in Pizza Hotline and that's it.
And if people want to buy your music, is it Bandcamp? Is that the place to go?
Bandcamp's good, or just anywhere you listen is supportive. But Bandcamp, yeah, you can search me up on Bandcamp. I got loads of fun merchandise. I actually just ordered loads of these, like, those embroidered tags that they have in aircrafts, and it's like remove before the flight.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those? I've just ordered a load of those that say Pizza Hotline on them. They're pretty fun.
Oh, nice. Okay, so there's plenty plugged there. All I will do is I just want to give a massive props to all of the folks that are involved in keeping Dreamcast PSO alive. So that's in particular Blue Crab and Aileron Ives, who are both integral to the upkeep and running of the Silverant servers. And if anyone from Sonic Team happens to be listening to this, then you're pretty great too. So thanks for creating PSO. We have been the Dreamcast Junkyard. This has been the DreamPod. We also have a blog, so if you check us out online, just go to www.thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk. We do have some very small running costs as well. If you want to help us cover those, then you can find us on Buy Me a Coffee. If you just Google that, you'll find us, or if you go to buymeacoffee.com/DC Junkyard, every penny is greatly appreciated. And that's all from us this time. Keep your ears to the ground. I'm sure we'll have another episode coming out soon. And keep on dreaming.
Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers. Please stop this disc now.